Man, we are truly, truly living in a Benjamin Button society. Now, let me explain what that is on this edition of The Fold. Welcome back to The Fold tonight. Happy Sunday night once again. I first off want to thank my new subscribers here on The Fold GODCAST. And I wanted to say that I appreciate each and every one of you. Please continue to like, subscribe, and share this content because the Fold is growing. It's growing slow, and I'm okay with that. I'm not necessarily here to gain popularity, but I do want to get the word out so people actually know who I am and where I am. So thank you to all of my subscribers. If you're already here with me, thank you. If you're new, thank you. So I want to hop right into this. Now, I said that we live in a Benjamin Button society, right? Okay, in 2008, a movie was produced by Hollywood, starring Brad Pitt. It was originally a book by A. Scott Fitzgerald in 1922. This is an old book. It's a short book. They made it into a movie, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, right? So in this movie, this child is born, and he has the appearance of a 70, 80 plus year old man when he's born. So right off, his parents, they reject him. So he faces abandonment like really early on in his life. So he's left on the steps of a nursing home ran by a woman. I believe her name. I haven't seen the movie in a long time. I've done a little research to make this video, but I think her name was Queenie. But that character was played by Taraji P. Henson, and her husband, who I don't know his name, his character's name. But they ended up raising Benjamin, right? So he's born into the world an old man, right? As time goes on, genetically he goes backwards and not forward. See, when we get older, our cells don't produce at the same rate that they do when we're younger. But I've heard doctors say this on a cellular level. Every 7 years you become a new person, because what happens is those cells regenerate. So cancer is actually a cellular issue. Cancer is dealt with on the cellular level, and that's why radiation is necessary to deal with cells. I'm saying that because he had a genetic disorder. So he doesn't even realize he's getting younger as time goes by. He's getting younger and younger and younger, right? And I wasn't the first one to coin this phrase. By the way, shout out to Truth Stream Media. They coined this phrase. I've heard other people say it, but go check out. If I don't leave a link, go check out Truth Stream Media. Everything that this young lady and her husband, they say, I agree with about the culture we live in today. So let's move on. Let's progress. So Benjamin, as time goes on, he actually gets younger, and he begins to become aware of the fact that he's aging, but he's aging in reverse. So in essence, he's becoming younger with time and not older with time. And I was like, man, this is so fitting for this generation. Hear what I'm saying. We live in a Benjamin Button society. And why do I say that? Because children come into this world in the last days, and it's not all their fault. Within 3-4 years, they know how to operate a smartphone at 4 and 5 years old, right? We didn't have those things in my generation, And how many times have you seen like videos in this culture we live in today? How many times have you seen videos that actually went viral? And you'll see like these 5-year-old girls or these young boys, and they dress like grown men, and they're cursing and grabbing themselves, and they're just spitting out all types of vulgarities, or the little girls are twerking and dancing. These types of videos go viral, and the parents actually celebrate this stuff. And later on in life, to me, and this doesn't apply to every child that's exposed to this, because God can and will deliver. But I'm saying we live in a society where children are born into the world and they want to be grown when they come into the world. But as they progress, when they get older and they have an opportunity to become productive citizens, they want to revert back to childhood. They want to move in with their parents. They don't want to get married. They don't want to have a family. They don't want to raise kids. They don't want to do anything. And it's backwards. And see, this is a tactic of the devil. See, the Bible says in Ephesians, I believe it's 4:14, he's talking to the church. The Apostle Paul says that we are no longer to be children, tossed to and fro with every wind and wave of doctrine. And before we came into the knowledge of the truth, we were actually tossed to and fro in this world. We were children as it pertained to righteousness, but we were mature as it pertained to sin. So Satan's idea in the last day, that's why I said we're in the Benjamin Button society. Satan in these last days, he wants you to age backwards. He wants you to come into the world and live a life independently of God with no experience to back up what you're doing. No experience, no directions. You know, how many times, and I speak for myself, how many times have you been at an establishment, right? And maybe you went to get something to eat, and particularly a drive-through. You know, there are a few restaurants that they're notorious for these types of young people they hire. How many times have you been in a restaurant and you're dealing with a young person and they have no etiquette, no respect? I mean, no respect, you know, for adults. They talk to you almost as if you're their peers. And when I was growing up, it wasn't like that. I remember in elementary school, like the baddest kid in school. He was a new guy at one point. Nobody wanted to have a problem with him, you know, but he reigned havoc at school. I mean, he happened to be my friend because we played sports. But man, this dude, I mean, I won't name him, but you know, this dude here, he didn't mind fighting. He didn't mind getting in trouble, but he got in trouble one time. And I remember that his grandmother had to come and get him, or she had to come to the school. And man, when his grandmother came to school, he was a different child because he respected his grandmother. Listen, even though he didn't respect the teachers, he respected his grandmother, and he reverted back to a child dealing with his grandmother, even though he didn't quite respect the teachers like he should. He didn't respect other students, but he respected his grandmother. There was a certain respect. And even me, you know, see, I wasn't born a saint. None of us were. So I remember when I talked and I used profanity when I talked, but with me and my friends, I remember when older people would come around and if we were using vulgarities, you know, we would shut up when someone older came in the room. You know, we had more respect for our elders, you know, than this younger generation. And we live in a different world now. You know, it's kind of hard to bring correction to the youth today. And this doesn't apply to everybody because you're likely to almost get into a fist fight if you say the wrong things to some of these young people, but they don't realize Satan wants them to come into the world and act grown coming into the world and revert back to that of a child as they get older. And we see this, and I wish I'd had the statistics, but there is a certain number of adults, even, and see this, let me say this, in the Black community, people that look like me or people of color will have a problem with what I'm saying, but it's true. But guess what? It applies to every demographic. See, this crosses demographics. It's not a Black problem. It's not a white problem. This crosses demographics. And you see this on social media all the time. Social media is raising our kids. And that's the problem. See, we didn't have social media growing up. So like now, in the Benjamin Button society, in relation to the movie, like young people can't cope anymore. You know, like I remember being disappointed and I had to deal with it. I mean, even something as simple as sports. If my team lost the Super Bowl, I came to school like the next day, man, like we were disappointed. But I mean, we understood it was just a game. We shook it off, you know, we shook it off and we kept on going. We understood it's just a game. But now we live in a society where these things are taken so serious now that I've seen people fight because their team lost the game. You've seen riots in the streets over like sporting events, basketball, football, Super Bowl, and NBA finals. You know, the city is like torched in some places. If the team that's on the road loses a game 7, Man, that city could get tossed up, at the end of the night. That's the culture we live in. Even driving, like I come in contact with a lot of people on a weekly basis. And even on the road here, if the speed limit is 45, I mean, I'm reluctant to run 50. That's just me. But there's no regard for the law anymore. See, in the Benjamin Button society, you make the rules and truth is relative. You live out your truth, I live out my truth. But the problem is, if truth is relative, whose truth is actually true? It's kind of like an oxymoron. The word truth itself implies that there has to be some type of absolutes, but not in the Benjamin Button society. See, you have your truth and I have my truth in the Benjamin Button society. Because after all, I'm 14, I'm 13, I'm grown. You can't tell me what to do. But when you turn 21, 22, and you're able and you should be part of society and be a productive citizen, then we shy away. We want to revert back to being children again. I mean, for some people well into their 30s, they just don't grow up. Even though they may have kids, we're in a Benjamin Button society. And that's where we are in the last days. And another thing about a Benjamin Button society is that they don't embrace lows. Kind of like the Lego movie when everything is awesome. In the Benjamin Button society, everything is high. Everything's up here. Negative emotions are perceived as evil, but the danger with negative emotions and not embracing those emotions is that it's good for the heart. We need to see, we live in a softball generation. Everybody's being thrown softballs, or a trophy generation in this Benjamin Button generation. Or, we give out participation trophies now because no one wants to be made to feel ashamed. And that somebody coined the phrase, or however it became trendy, about shaming somebody. It's like, we don't want to be ashamed of anything, but negative emotions are necessary because that's what helps you to establish mental intelligence, emotional intelligence. And without emotional intelligence, this here, if you don't experience negative emotions, you don't learn how to cope with disappointments and setbacks in life, then it's almost like a highlight whenever you hit those markers and things begin to happen that you're not comfortable with. So in the Benjamin Button society, we're all too willing to give you medicine. You get what I'm saying? Because the idea is Satan wants to dumb you down. See, when Jesus walked the earth, he would cast out demons. He healed the sick. He fed the hungry. He casted out demons. But in the Benjamin Button society, when someone has a problem, we say it's a disease. And this is very clever by Satan, because if your problem is a disease and not sin, you pull it out of the realm of the spirit, put it in the natural realm, and now you can deal with it and be able to measure it out naturally. And guess what? Then I can give you medicine. You go to the pharmacy. In Revelation 18:23 talks about Mystery Babylon and how they deceive the world with their sorceries. Well, that word sorceries in Greek is pharmakia. That's where we get the word what? Pharmacy from. So now in the Benjamin Button society, if you're trained to believe that everything is awesome, like the Lego movie, there's no such thing as lows, everything is high, negative emotions are evil and inherently bad, everything has to be good or it's not right. When something happens, you got this thing now where they talk about being triggered. And by the way, we got cooler temperatures here in the Carolinas, so I'm breaking out my threads or whatever. So drop me a comment again. Like I said, if you're in the area, drop me a comment. Link up with me some kind of way, man. I like to talk to you. I like to get to know you guys here at the Fold. But see, when you hit these lows in life, the doctor comes in and some of these lows are because of sin. Some of these lows are because of your conscience. Your conscience is telling you something is wrong. Every low is not because of depression. Some lows come from sin that you've committed. You should feel bad when you commit sin. But in the Benjamin Button society, no one is made to be ashamed. No one feels bad. If you have any lows, we got something for that. In essence, the devil wants to dumb you down. So you go back to the Garden of Eden in the book of Genesis. Eve had everything that she needed. Listen, Eve had everything that she needed, right? Adam and Eve had everything they needed to serve the Lord. Satan convinced Eve that she was missing something and that by eating the fruit, she would be like God, knowing good and evil. You see, But see, they were born, they were created, should I say. Adam and Eve were created with the understanding that God would make them wise concerning righteousness and babes concerning evil. He didn't want them to understand good and evil. That was not his intent. But the lie was that the fruit would make you to know good and evil and be quote unquote like God. So no wonder Satan is using the same strategy now with the invention of social media, which social media isn't bad, but social media isn't for believers. We use it, but it was not made for us. Let's get that straight. It was not made for us. In the Benjamin Button Society, all of these things are part of the machine. And I'll talk about that in another video. The machine doesn't have wires. It doesn't have batteries. It doesn't necessarily have cords. The machine is a spiritual thing, but it manifests naturally in different spheres of influence, the entertainment industry, even the food you eat. All of these things dumb you down. In a Benjamin Button society, the idea is that you be dumbed down. Satan wants to dumb you down. He wants to destroy you. Listen, he wants to destroy your life before you have enough time to figure out what life is really about. Life is about Jesus Christ. It's about serving God. It's about having a relationship with God. But in a Benjamin Button society, it's all about you. And I'll talk about these stages that the character that Brad Pitt went through, and we'll be done. So these are the parallels in a Benjamin Button society. Listen, number one, Benjamin Button experienced rejection and abandonment. His parents took a look at him. He wasn't pleasant to look at like Moses, so they dropped him off. Eventually, he ends up at a nursing home. Now, he feels right at home at the time because he's with people that look like him at the time. This is how the devil does you. That rejection and abandonment took him to a place where he was comfortable, only for a time. Remember, he's growing, but he's growing younger. So he's only comfortable there just for a time. So when you're in sin, you're only comfortable there for a time. The pleasure of sin is only but for a season. And it does taste sweet, but in the end, it's a kiss of death. And that's not scripture. I'm just saying, I know what sin is and what it'll do. You know, number two was promiscuity. So that rejection that that Benjamin experienced eventually led him to promiscuity. So he's looking for something. And you know, there's a scene in the movie where he's with a woman that's a prostitute, just say. And by the way, don't watch this movie now. Say I watched this movie when I wasn't saved. So I just saw the parallels in the movie and wanted to bring this to you guys to help you understand the parallels in the society we live in today. So promiscuity. And how many times do we see young people go through this? They're rejected or they feel abandoned in the next phase. Usually in a lot of cases is promiscuity. They hook up with somebody, they have this illicit sex, sometimes with the same sex, you know, and really what it is, they're hurting and they're crying out for help. So again, Satan is dealing with the physical body. And Benjamin Button, it was the next phase of his life was promiscuity. By the way, he was born in the movie, Brad Pitt played the character. He was born in 1918, right at the end of World War I. It was World War I when he was born, right at the end of it. But he actually served and fought in World War II. This movie is set in, it's an old movie, and they're in New Orleans, by the way. So there are elements to the movie that, like I said, don't watch it because there are elements to the movie that it's not a Bible-based movie. Let me get that straight. I'm just making the point that the movie has a lot of parallels. So he was abandoned. He experienced rejection like a lot of young people do now, even older people. That rejection eventually led him to some type of promiscuity. We see that with young people now. Number three was apathy. So Benjamin actually has a child named Roscoe. Roscoe has a business. Well, Benjamin has the business, but he becomes apathetic. He has no interest in running this. Remember, he's getting younger. He wants to sow his oats, so to speak. So he has no interest in running this business, man. So the son has to run this. Look at the son. The son has to take responsibility and run the business. You see, he's become apathetic to responsibility. But it's the same in the Benjamin Button society. And then the last stage of this, and we'll close, is codependence. So it's really sad, but by the end of the movie, he's an infant, and he dies in, I think it was Daisy. He died in her arms as an infant at the end of the movie. He became completely codependent on someone else. And that's where Satan wants to get you. He wants to get you in a place where you've made so many bad decisions that you literally become codependent towards the end of your life. And, whether that's catching a disease and you can't take care of yourself, whether it's just, you can become apathetic and just give up on life. He wants you to get to that place of apathy. So you will eventually become codependent. You're not dependent on God, especially. You're dependent on someone else, but not God. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what a Benjamin Button society is all about. I got a few more things to say, and this is very important. So I said before that Jesus cast out devils. He healed the sick. He raised the dead. He fed people when they were hungry. And he did all these things because he loved humanity, right? And I don't know, I was thinking about the madman of Gadara, or the Gadarene demoniac. When Jesus ran up on this guy, he was in the tombs and he was cutting himself. And no one could subdue him or restrain him because of the demons that were in him. Now, Jesus, when he saw this man, he only asked one question. He asked what his name was. He wasn't talking to the man. You get it? He wasn't talking to the man. He was talking about the entity, the spirit that was controlling him. And he said, "We are legion." Man, I'm getting into another podcast. He say, "I am legion, for we are many." So there's a revelation in that you can be possessed by more than one demon. And again, how often do you see these commercials now where they make sin a disease, man? And it's sad. There are a lot of people that, listen, there are a lot of people that are struggling right now with sin. And some people are literally demonically possessed by demons. And the devil knows this. Listen, to give a person medication to deal with demonic possession, it only furthers the problem. Because what it does, it dumbs you down and gives demons further control. So instead of you having your faculties in order, this medicine actually dumbs you down. It makes it harder for you to fight. See, in Jesus' day, he didn't use medication. There were only a couple prescriptions he gave, and they were really simple, like go and wash your eyes and you'll see. Stuff like that. But God rarely dealt with substances to heal people. And I think it was Hezekiah, don't quote me. I think it was Hezekiah that was sick. There was somebody that was sick and God told him to, I think it was fig leaf or something they told him to rub on themselves. Don't quote me on that, but I'm just saying that when God does miracles, he does it all the way. See, medicine doesn't heal us. And by the way, I'm not giving medical advice. That's my disclaimer. Medicine doesn't heal you. Only Jesus can heal. What medicine does, it'll mask the symptoms of illness. It doesn't actually heal you. And this is for people who are on medication. I'm not saying to throw your medicine away if it's helping you. I'm talking about situations where people are demonically possessed and oppressed, and they've been given something to take. And what it's doing is it's dumbing them down, and it's giving the demons more control. That Satan knows this. And that's why Revelation 18 and 23 talks about Mystery Babylon, which I believe America could be Mystery Babylon. We are truly a Benjamin Button society. We are a Benjamin Button society, man. But it talks about the world being deceived by her sorceries. I told you that word is pharmakia, where you get the word pharmacy from. And that's Satan's plan to dumb you down. But the good news is, I can't leave without giving you the good news, that you don't have to be part of the Benjamin Button society. See, you can grow up. And growing does hurt. I remember when I got saved, God delivered me from so many things, man. I'm not ashamed to say it. I mean, he delivered me from so many things when I came into the knowledge of the truth. And it was a slow process. God has been very patient with me. And that's the only reason I'm able to do this today. He's been very gracious and patient. So I love Jesus. But you don't have to be part of the Benjamin Button society. See, real manhood and womanhood is all about having a relationship with God. When you get that, when you get that relationship with God, then you'll have courage to stand up. You have courage to stand up and be different. You won't be afraid to be who you are. But you only get there through Jesus Christ. When you know the truth will set you free. It set me free. And I always say it, get along with the Lord. Get along with the Lord. Pour your heart out to him. He'll save you. He'll save you. So thank you guys, man. Thanks for your time tonight. Look out for the next video. I'm dropping these videos on Sunday nights for a reason. The holidays are coming up, so happy Thanksgiving. I may do another video between now and Thanksgiving. I may do another video for Thanksgiving, a special video. I'm working on getting my man in here, Minister Rayvon Nichols. Shout out to you. I love you, brother. I'm working on getting him. We're trying to coordinate a time to get him in here. So we'll get him in here. And you don't want to miss that podcast, man. Like, subscribe, and share. I love you guys. Thank you for watching. I love you. Until next time, keep looking up to the Chief Shepherd. Later.